Welcome to today's episode of Speak Peace to My Soul. In today's deep dive into Doctrine and Covenants 77, we witness a powerful pattern. The prophet Joseph asked, and the Lord answered.
Yeah, it's quite direct. Each verse starts with a question, and ends with divine insight.
Exactly. This chapter really reminds us that when we sincerely seek knowledge from God, He responds. He gives light, understanding, truth.
And President Russell M. Nelson echoed this very same principle in our day. Remember his talk? Pure truth, pure doctrine, and pure revelation.
Oh, absolutely. He pleaded with us to stretch our spiritual capacity to receive personal revelation.
And he promised, didn't he, that the Lord will speak to those who make time for him, who seek him sincerely, and importantly, who are willing to listen.
So today we'll explore what it really means to seek divine knowledge, maybe why the Lord sometimes waits to reveal certain truths.
And how we can get better at recognizing the answers he gives us.
Okay, so let's start our journey into seeking divine knowledge with Doctrine and Covenants 77. It's such a fascinating chapter.
It really is. Because it's almost like a transcript, isn't it? A direct record of questions Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon had.
Right, while they were working on the inspired translation of the Bible, specifically the book of Revelation, which is famously symbolic.
Very symbolic.
Yeah.
And you can almost picture them wrestling with it, trying to understand.
It really does feel like peeking into a divine Q&A session.
And what's so illuminating about D&C 77, I think, is its simplicity, profound simplicity.
How so?
Well, Joseph, faced with these complex scriptures, he didn't just guess, right, or speculate. He knew, like the Come Follow Me lesson highlights, that if he lacked wisdom, he could ask God.
That James 1.5 principle lived out right there.
Exactly. And this chapter just beautifully illustrates that direct, sincere asking leads straight to divine insight. It keeps reinforcing that core idea. God gives knowledge to people who seek it.
It's a remarkable blueprint, isn't it? Just ask and receive.
It is, but...
There's a but. Because while D&C 77 shows this immediate response, Joseph's life also teaches us something else, doesn't it?
It does. It teaches us that sometimes, even after sincere seeking, the Lord waits. He waits to reveal certain truths.
So what can we learn from those times? Those periods of waiting that, let's be honest, many of us experience in our own spiritual journeys.
That's such a crucial point, because D&C 77 captures those moments of, immediate answers. But Joseph's whole life, and really the lives of prophets throughout history, show these periods of waiting, sometimes profound waiting for really critical revelations.
So seeking isn't just about asking and getting an instant reply.
No, not always. It also seems to be about developing our spiritual capacity, our patience, our trust. Trust that we'll receive it at God's appointed time.
That sounds like it requires more effort, sustained effort.
Definitely. Continued faith, a willingness sometimes to just endure with hope. And that can be a really refining process in itself.
So if that's the historical pattern, this asking, receiving, and sometimes waiting, how does this ancient principle connect to us, to our lives today? How does it become, a living principle?
Oh, it's absolutely a living principle. And President Russell M. Nelson, he really gives us a contemporary invitation to engage with it.
Right. His October 2021 General Conference talk, Pure Truth, Pure Doctrine, and Pure Revelation. I remember being struck by how personal the opening felt.
Me too.
He said he had prayed about you and for you, and prayed that the conference would be a time of revelation and reflection for everyone seeking those blessings. It felt very direct.
It really did. Not just a general statement, but like he was speaking to each individual. And then he amplified that with that direct plea you mentioned earlier.
To stretch our spiritual capacity to receive personal revelation.
Yes, and that powerful promise that followed. The Lord will speak to those who make time for him, who seek him sincerely, and who are willing to listen.
It lined up perfectly with the D&C 77 pattern, doesn't it? Shows that consistency, God's invitation to seek knowledge, it spans generations.
Absolutely. The pattern holds true.
Okay, so building on that pattern, President Nelson gives us a sort of modern framework for what to listen for when we're seeking. He highlights 3 specific things, starting with pure truth.
Right. And he defined pure truth as absolute truth, eternal truth, which sounds simple, but then he points out a major challenge today.
Which is?
He said, one of the plagues of our day is that too few people know where to turn for truth. There's so much noise out there.
That resonates. It can be really confusing.
It can. But then he offered this profound reassurance. He said, essentially, that what we hear from divine sources, like General Conference, constitutes pure truth.
So pure truth. It's like something unchanging, fundamental.
Exactly. Think of it like a A spiritual law of the universe. It transcends opinions, cultural shifts. It's just there,
Yeah.
reliable, if we know where to look and how to recognize it.
Okay, but in a world with so many conflicting messages, what does that mean for us personally? How do we actually discern pure truth? How do we feast on it when there are so many voices claiming to have the truth? It sounds like we need to be pretty intentional.
Very intentional, like spiritual detectives, as you put it. And that intentionality leads us right into the second element he mentioned.
Which is the pure doctrine of Christ.
Yes. And President Nelson taught that this doctrine is powerful, really powerful. It changes the life of everyone who understands it and seeks to implement it in his or her life.
So it's not just theory, it's practical.
Highly practical. He highlighted its application. It helps us find and stay on the covenant path. It's like a roadmap for transformation, not just abstract ideas.
And this is where it gets incredibly motivating, I think, because the promise tied to staying on that path, it's huge.
It is. He said it will ultimately qualify us to receive all that God has.
All that God has. Just pause on that for a second. He emphasizes the profound significance of that phrase, all our Father has. It sounds almost overwhelming, doesn't it?
It does sound vast, but maybe part of receiving that all isn't just some far-off event. Maybe it starts now.
How do you mean, like experiencing aspects of it in daily life?
Yeah, maybe the very process of seeking and applying truth, living the doctrine, builds our capacity to receive more. Maybe experiencing greater peace or clarity or spiritual strength. Those are foretastes of that all. It's not just a future reward, perhaps, but an unfolding reality as we walk the path.
That makes sense. The journey itself builds the capacity.
Right, and that journey requires personal guidance, which brings us to the third element, pure revelation.
Ah, yes, pure revelation for the questions in your heart.
Exactly. President Nelson explained how receiving this personal revelation is what makes things like conference or our personal study rewarding and unforgettable.
And he reinforced the invitation to actively seek the Holy Ghost's help, right? To hear what the Lord wants us specifically to hear.
Yes, what the Lord would have you hear. That personal aspect is key.
Okay, so that's a critical point then. How do these three things, pure truth, pure doctrine, and pure revelation, how do they work together? How do they fulfill that original promise that God gives knowledge to people who seek it, just like he did with Joseph? They don't sound like separate boxes to check.
No, not at all. They're deeply interconnected, like threads woven together.
Like a tapestry.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Think about the Come Follow Me invitation to record insights from D&C 77 to learn about receiving revelation. President Nelson's words give us that contemporary framework for doing just that.
And he connects effort to revelation.
Powerfully so. He said the Lord loves effort. And when we give him our time, he gives us revelation. That applies to all three elements we've discussed.
Okay, so break that down. How does effort connect to each one?
Well, seeking pure truth takes effort, right? We have to intentionally look for reliable sources, study them, ponder them. Understanding pure doctrine also takes effort. It requires studying the scriptures, the words of prophets, praying for understanding, trying to live
But pure revelation.
That definitely requires effort. Making time, creating quiet space, praying sincerely, listening intently, being willing to act on promptings. It's the effort of building that relationship, that divine dialogue, that makes our faith a living, breathing experience. The truth provides the foundation, the doctrine gives the path, and revelation provides the personal, customized guidance for our specific journey on that path.
So for you listening right now, maybe take a moment to reflect. What questions are genuinely in your heart this week? How might you more actively seek pure truth, pure doctrine, and pure revelation? Maybe in your scripture study, your prayers, just in moments of quiet reflection.
Remember Joseph's example back in D&C 77. Remember President Nelson's invitation. Make your personal study, or maybe even just 5 quiet minutes, a time of feasting on messages from the Lord and figuring out how to apply them, really apply them in your life.
And then President Nelson connects this personal effort to something much bigger.
He does. He asks us to imagine. Imagine how quickly the devastating conflicts throughout the world and those in our individual lives would be resolved if we all chose to follow Jesus Christ and heed his teachings.
Wow. That really underscores the potential impact, doesn't it? The profound, transformative power of the divine knowledge God gives to those who truly seek it. It's not just for our personal benefit, though it starts there.
Exactly. It has ripples outwards for families, communities, the world.
As we've seen through D&C 77 and the words of President Nelson, God is not silent. He really does give knowledge to those who ask in faith.
Yeah, he does. And maybe we don't have to understand everything all at once.
Right. But we can trust that when we turn to him, he will teach us, line upon line, precept upon precept, just like he did with Joseph Smith.
So let's keep asking, keep seeking, keep learning.
And let's remember the prophet's promise. The Lord loves effort. And when we give him our time, he gives us revelation.
Such a hopeful promise.
If this deep dive helped you reflect on how God might be teaching you personally, we invite you to like, subscribe, and perhaps share this message with someone who might be seeking too. Until next time.
Until next time, may we remember him more, follow him closer, and rejoice in his light.